Hello, everyone. Welcome to Study Travel TV Live, a show of news, statistics, and opinion. I'm Matthew Knott, news editor of StudyTravel Magazine.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bethan Norris, editor of StudyTravel Magazine. Before we get started, for the best viewing experience, please put the call in side-by-side speaker view. You will see an icon in the top right corner where you can select the view.
We are delighted to welcome you all today to this episode of Study Travel TV Live. In today's broadcast, we'll begin with a news story, and then we'll be joined by our guest this week, Seth Rutrakool, Managing Director of Gent Global Edutainment Networks Agency in Thailand and President of Thai Agency Association Tieca, and Murphy Scott, Commercial Director of Expanish in Spain and Argentina.
We'll also have some clips of a pre-recorded interview with Grant McPherson, CEO of Education New Zealand. If you have any questions for the presenters or guest speakers or comments on the stories, please post them in the chat box and we'll read them out at the end. A big thank you to the sponsor of this episode, Londonist.
Okay, so let's take a look at our first story this week. And the government of Western Australia has announced details of a $10 million bonus payment package for agents as part of a plan to boost the recovery of the international education sector.
The Western Australian government will make payments to agents of $500 per student enrolled in a school, an English language college or a vocational provider, and $1,000 for students enrolled at one of the state's 5 universities.
Western Australia has also committed a further $6.8 million to continue bursaries for accommodation costs and for English language students. Students enrolled in a 20-week ELICOS course can apply for a grant of $1,500.
Announcing the incentives, WA International Education Minister David Templeman said that it was vitally important that the McGowan government incentivises international student agents as well as students to encourage them to consider study in Western Australia, and that they wanted to see thousands more international students come to the state.
Okay, so at this point, we'd like to introduce our guests for this week, Seth and Murphy.
Hi, Matthew. Hi, Beaton.
Hello.
Hi, Seth.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. And there's Murphy. Thank you for joining us. Seth, if we could begin with you. These are quite eye-catching incentives from Western Australia. As an agent, what do you make of these?
I think for the Thai market, there is a large trend of Thai students going to study ELICOS in Australia during COVID until right now. However, the majority of Thai students going to Australia are going to Sydney or Melbourne as the major destinations. So if the government launching this incentive, I think this will help not only to diversify the number of the international students going to different destinations, which will benefit to institutions itself in Western Australia, but also for agencies have more encouragement to suggest the students to other destinations as well. So this is, I think this is a good news for agency. But we have to see the conditions of how complicated of the process for the incentive anyway.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. And Murphy, your schools operate in Argentina and Spain. Have the local or national governments done anything to incentivize international students to travel there? And what would you like them to do?
Yeah, a bit. Unfortunately, nothing like this incentive in Australia. But first, I'll talk a bit about Argentina. Not a lot from the national government. The city of Buenos Aires does have a program for international students that help them with their transition and arrival in terms of housing and a welcome kit, and they run activities in the city. But with the big thing we would like to see as a language provider in Argentina is, unlike Spain, Argentina doesn't allow our language students to apply for a student visa. So we only see short-term students here in Argentina, which does limit the amount of students that we can receive and the markets that are attracted to Argentina. So we don't have a lot of lobbying power with the government because the industry is smaller in Argentina than Spain, but that is an eventual goal of Expanish and other language schools in the country, to be able to help with the process and be an option for long-term students. In Spain, there is some good news in Spain. The government is in the process of changing the rules regarding work permits and international students. So students will soon be able to, it'll make it easier and less red tape for students to get their work permits, long-term students in Spain, specifically students going to university. They'll be able to work 30 hours a week, and they'll now also be able to stay 1 to 2 years post graduation to work. So those type of incentives will really help attract more long-term students and to university students to Spain, which is a good step in the right direction to increase the attraction of the students to the country.
Good news, and good luck on the lobbying in Argentina. Yeah. Seth, as you just indicated, English Australia has announced a very large growth from Thailand so far this year, with an increase of 556% in student commencements from Thailand up to June 2022, compared with the first 6 months of last year. What do you think are the reasons for this, and will this bursary and incentive scheme from Western Australia push that growth further, do you think?
I think the reasons of the trends that Thai students number have increased a lot is because of the social trend, because the new generation of Thai people are not appreciated with the Thai government, and they plan to move away out from the country and to find a job, to study English or whatever. So Australia, therefore, is the country that they would like to move in, because of the cost of living, the distance from Thailand to Australia, and also the tuition fee is not too expensive. So this is the major trends of the Thai students right now that would like to move out to Australia. Yep.
And so those students are looking to work as
they're looking for working. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on now, and we'll take another story. As previously reported on this show, New Zealand opened to all international students at the end of July. Last week, Matthew interviewed Grant McPherson, CEO of Education New Zealand, about the reopening and response to it.
New Zealand reopened to all remaining students at the end of July. Obviously, some certain groups of categories could come prior to that, and student visa processing has resumed. So it's only a few weeks now, but can you tell us how things are going so far in terms of students returning and applying and so on?
Yes, so the response has been very positive. One of the things we were concerned about was whether the awareness of New Zealand as an education destination and the quality of our education provision might have got lost in the last 2 years, and we've become somewhat invisible. But what we've got a lot of feedback is that is not the case. So the awareness of New Zealand is still very high, and the preference to come and study in New Zealand is also very high. And the research that we undertake is showing that. Well, what we've also seen is from the universities and our New Zealand Institute of Skills and Technology is that their application levels have started to grow quite considerably, getting close to about 50% of pre-COVID numbers, which is pretty good, with more applications starting to come in. So that's not enrollments, that's the application piece of the puzzle. So that is very positive. Again, I think there was a little bit of worry that would take a lot longer to come back. So so from overall a very very positive response, and demand seems to be strong.
So Seth, we've talked about demand from the Thai market for Australia. So how about New Zealand now that it's open again? And do you think that staying closed for so long damaged New Zealand's position in the market?
I would like to say that for New Zealand market, Thailand is for high school sector. As I understand, around 3,000 Thai students going to study high school in New Zealand every year. And while the language and university are still smaller, but there is a good trend before COVID. But regarding reopening the country, I don't think that it has damaged New Zealand that much, just the opportunity during the past few years. But because of the quality of education, affordability for studying in the state schools, and also with the good support from Education New Zealand in Thailand, I think New Zealand will come back to the normal situation within 1 or 2 years or sooner than that.
Okay, and Murphy, Spain took a hit like everyone else did, but seemed to recover better than many destinations in 2021. Indeed, the number of students enrolled at Fidelis schools in 2021 was comparable to Languages Canada and English UK, as you can see on our slide. How did Spain manage that, do you think? And how are things looking for this year?
Yes, Spain did recover very well. I think one of the reasons was that in 2021, there was still, there was such, the reason there were such high numbers was the lack of other options, specifically in Latin America. So if someone wanted to study Spanish, many countries in Latin America still had their borders closed or many restrictions, and students and parents were not comfortable sending their students or their children so far away to study Spanish. So one of the only options in 2021 was Spain. So that did affect the increased numbers. And also, many destinations like the UK in 2021 still had some entry restrictions or like testing or quarantining. So we also saw an increase in juniors and groups that would have gone to the UK, but that year decided to go to Spain due to restrictions. So those are one of the reasons that I see is that the higher numbers was just lack of other destinations. This year is looking good in general, but like all destinations, we're waiting to see if 2022 was a high peak and then next year will stabilize slightly lower, or if we'll be able to keep up this momentum of student numbers. So that's still to be determined.
Thank you. Fingers crossed. Seth, overall, what kind of volume are you expecting from the Thai outbound market in 2022 compared to the pre-pandemic 2019?
I think it will be much better because during the COVID period of time, the trend is even for some countries, they cannot go, but there are many people who would like to go. And then for some countries that they can travel, the number is still growing up. So when we come back 2022, I believe that the trend will be positive. Thailand. But I would like to segment in different sectors. For example, like for language sector, Australia, Canada, or UK become the top priorities. For the high school, New Zealand, Canada, US, or the UK in order. And then for the university, the UK is the main big market for Thai students anyway.
Okay, thank you. And how are things in Argentina this year, Murphy?
They're going great. There are no restrictions to enter Argentina currently. It's one of the safest destinations in Latin America, and life is pretty much back to normal. We did see a quick recovery in general tourism and so far the language industry when the borders opened in November 2021, and especially with the Brazilian market, because it's so close to Argentina. They were very fast to start traveling again to their neighboring country in Argentina. So far, we're very close to getting back to past numbers in Argentina, which is a small market in general.
Okay, fantastic. All right, let's move on to another story. A group of higher education associations and other organizations in the USA are calling on the US Department of State to introduce measures to ease visa processing for international students and to make certain COVID-19 concessions permanent practice.
The group called for in-person interview waivers for applicants who have received a visa to travel to the USA previously to be made a permanent policy, and asked the State Department to maximize alternatives to in-person visa interviews and extensions to visa eligibility waivers.
Current wait times for interviews vary drastically by consular post. The State Department currently lists wait times for visa interviews in New Delhi or Mumbai for students who require an interview at 437 days, compared with only 1 or 2 days at embassies in Bangkok and Beijing.
The organisations, which included the President's Alliance on Higher Education Immigration, NAFTA Association of International Educators, Council of Graduate Schools, and ETS, the operator of the TOEIC and TOEFL exams, referred to the strong growth being experienced by rival destinations such as the UK and Canada in its letter.
So, Seth, according to those wait times, visas for the US appear quite straightforward for Thai students. Would you agree with that? And are acceptance rates high at the moment?
Actually, the visa slot in Thailand is not just 4 days or 2 days. The slots are now full until next year.
Oh, really?
Although there will be some slots coming, Matthew and Beaton. Right. But you have to keep watching all the time until they pop up, and then you click it. So it's not easy to get the visa slot anyway. In terms of the acceptance rate, it depending on the sector, as I can see. For the high school, in the past, it's like 99%, 100%. But right now, I faced by myself, there were a few cases that were rejected. And the reasons is because his or her English is not fluent enough. I'm not sure whether it's the duty of the immigrations to judge that, or even the school has already opened, you cannot go to the school just in time. This is the rejection reasons for the high school students that we have received. Anyway, for the language, right now we try to avoid applying to the language segment in the USA. I'm so sorry about the language schools in the US right now. So because it's pretty it's like 50% that you may get the visa, and you don't even know if you will get it, even you have the large amount of money in the statement anyway. But for the university, I think this is the best chance if the students are going to the university but it's not included the community college. I think community college will be considered as kind of language sector similar to that.
And are you having problems with visas for any other destinations?
Not quite. For the UK, it's pretty okay. But right now, rejection rate is about the human error, I think, for some countries. For example, in the UK. But for New Zealand, I haven't seen that. For Australia, yes, because there are a lot of demand from Thailand going to Australia. So that increasing rate hasn't counted for the rejection. If it's 100%, the increasing rate of Thai students will be a lot more.
Okay, thanks. And Murphy, how are things for Expanish on the visa front, both in Spain and Argentina? Are you experiencing any issues in certain source markets?
Yeah, so first I'll talk about Argentina. It's shorter, but it's not an issue because, like I mentioned earlier, we don't deal with student visas in Argentina, only tourist visas, and most of the time those are provided automatically upon arrival. So Spain, we have seen an uptick in rejection of visas, specifically in the Brazilian market, and like many times they give very vague answers about the motivation for travel. So we're actually working with some immigration law firms in Spain and our partners in Brazil specifically to work on some trainings to help increase that, because I think sometimes students aren't given as much information about the process and how they should fill out forms and how the interview goes. So I think with more support that should increase. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So next up, we're going to go back to our interview with Grant McPherson from Education New Zealand. I asked Grant about New Zealand's recently released international education strategy, and he told us how New Zealand was taking a broader view of value with this new strategy rather than focusing on economic value of the sector. And in this clip, I asked Grant about a measure that was added to the final version of the strategy, which is about the potential regulation of the agency sector. One thing that I did spot in the final version of the strategy was, with regards to agents, was there was an aim in there that the options for some sort of regulation of the agent sector would be considered. Is there anything that you can tell us about that? What sort of things might be on the table there?
So really it is making sure that from an agent perspective that they are fully aware of the sort of types of students that we're looking for. So communicating out all the things that I've just talked about to make sure they're aware of that. We have an Education New Zealand recognised agent program, which is about engaging with agents, helping sure they're informed. There's a number of benefits for the agents to being involved in that, regular information exchanges and all the rest of it. So one of the things that we want to do, given that the world has changed over the last 2.5 years, is to say, well, has the agent's role and the agents that are operating changed, and how do we make sure that they're operating in a way that sort of is beneficial to them, for the students and for our country. So the review, there's a review to go on to make, just to understand the changing landscape, and then there's a range of potential options after that. But yeah, so that's where that's coming from. Okay,
so it's still quite early in the process of deciding what that might look like.
Yeah, and every country that I engage with, as well as even in New Zealand, the idea of regulating agents comes up often. It's a very, very tricky and difficult sort of thing to do.
Sure.
And so how do we do the best we possibly can?
Yeah.
To make sure the agents feel engaged, well thought about, and all the rest of it. But at the same end, we just want the agents to be performing in a way that's consistent with what we're trying to achieve as well. So it's getting that marriage together.
And if anybody wants to watch the full version of this interview, you can find it on the news homepage on the Study Travel Network, and also on the STtv live page.
So, Seth, what's your opinion on agency regulation by a study destination? As Grant says in that clip, many countries have looked at regulations, but beyond requiring schools to publicly list their agents, very few are actually in place. Is this impossible, considering that agents operate in various different jurisdictions and legal systems, do you think?
I think I like this idea actually from Education New Zealand. I'm one of the recognized agencies in Thailand. I think it's possible, since it's the criteria setting from the destination, not from the countries where the agency is located at. This is even better, since in some countries, like in Thailand, we do not even need a license to be a study abroad agency. And then with the agency scheme, like ENZ recognized agent, will even make the quality agencies different from other normal agencies. And it shows that you focus on New Zealand, your expertise on New Zealand industry. So I think it's a good idea for launching this kind of program. And I think there is only one right now in New Zealand, not other countries.
Okay, thank you. And Murphy, what do you think? How do you vet the agencies that you work with as a school?
Yeah, I mean, Spanish is a secondary market, so we do get less requests to work with us than maybe a school in the UK, but it does happen, every 2 days we'll get a request from a new agent. But in general, what we do to an unknown agent is we ask for 2 references from a current school they're working with, and we confirm that they are in good standing with that school. And then we also ask for a reference from a local organization. It might be an agency organization or a chamber of commerce or a business association, to again confirm the good standing of that business. And just by asking those 3 references, it will kind of scare away some agents that aren't as serious as others.
Okay, thank you. And we'll take one last news story to finish. And it's a breaking news in the agency sector this week. Australia headquartered agency group IDP Education has announced it has signed an agreement to acquire all of Intake Education, another agency chain with operations in 10 countries, previously known as UKAS until last year.
The deal, which is due to complete in November and is reported at 83 million Australian dollars, will see IDP acquire Intake Education offices in Ghana, Kenya, India, Nigeria, the Philippines, Taiwan, and Thailand.
Murray Walton, Interim Chief Executive Officer of IDP Education, said that Intake's geographic footprint was a complement to IDP's global network, which spans offices in 50 countries.
So, Seth, both of these organisations operate in Thailand. What will this mean for the agency sector there?
For me, I think it means that one big name agency will have a few more branches in Thailand. Actually, the trend of merger and acquisition happens a lot in study abroad industry in Thailand, and I believe it's everywhere right now in the world. But however, this is a big news because both company are the big size company merging to each other, right? So anyway, IDP is one of the top, just so you know that IDP is one of the Tieca members as well. And the country director is the current board committee of Tieca as well.
Oh, okay, thank you. So this does indeed make IDP a very large agency operator in the higher education space. Is that a concern for smaller agencies, do you think, Seth?
I believe there is always a place for the quality ones. I'm a small and medium-sized agency focusing on high school and summer course program, for example. No matter how big the competitors are, I do believe that we can fight with them with the quality of services and expertise. In the other way, if a medium-sized focusing on the university like IDP or UKS or Mentor in the past, I will not be concerned, but it will be a good opportunity for me and encouragement for me as the exit of business in the future for selling the company if this trend is still going on by that time.
Interesting. Okay, thank you. Murphy, such global agency chains are perhaps less common in the language travel sector, although we have the example of ESL, maybe, which was acquired by Kaplan back in 2019. Do you think this might become more common and that there may be more sort of consolidation in the language travel agency sector?
Yeah, I do think it will become more common, but that's mostly because as the industry continues to mature, it's natural for companies to acquire each other, become bigger and bigger. But I do agree with Seth that in specifically in the language sector, one thing I would say is that the big players in the language sector, they aren't as big as they are in higher education. So even if they're a big player in the language sector, they're still relatively small. But I don't think anything can replace small agents that provide personalized service. And of course, big players will have lots of volume, but the quality will always be in those experienced professionals who work in small offices and really focus on customer experience.
Okay, thank you. That brings us up to date with all the stories this week. At this point, we'd like to open up to the audience to see if there are any questions for our guests or for the Study Travel team. These can be on any of the stories or topics we have discussed.
Just while we're waiting there to see if any questions pop up, something I should mention is that both of our guests have been award winners this year. Murphy, you won the StudyTravel Star Spanish Language School Award at the recent ST Star Awards. What did that mean for you and the team to win again?
That was great, and especially because it was the second year in a row, and during pandemic times, it was really, really nice. We were super happy. Augustine, our director, was able to receive it in person this year, unlike last year. So kind of just keeps motivating us, and hopefully we'll continue on this trend to be hopefully be a superstar soon.
It was certainly good to celebrate the awards in person this year. And Seth, your agency was a winner in the StudyTravel Secondary School Awards this year in the Asian agency category. So congratulations on that. Why do you think your partners voted for you?
I'm just surprised. I didn't know anything until I received the email. For the reason, I think because we work closely with them, we work just a few selected institutions and they understand the value of being personalized while we become the professional in terms of working as well. But I'm still surprised until right now, but I hope that we will be able to be nominated again for the future years.
Yeah, well, I should mention at this point actually that the voting period for the StudyTravel Secondary School Awards 2023 will open in the next couple of weeks, so keep a lookout for that. Anything in the chat, Beth?
No, we haven't got any questions.
Okay.
So I think we'll finish there. It looks like that's the end of our audience Q&A, which brings us to the end of this week's StudyTravel TV Live.
Our next episode will be on Wednesday, the 5th of October at the same time of 4 p.m. BST. You can visit the StudyTravel TV Live page on the StudyTravel Network, which you can see on the screen there under the magazine section in the menu. On that page, we'll announce the guest speakers for the next broadcast, and you'll be able to find a recording of today's episode and all of the past episodes.
So that's it for today. We'd like to say a big thank you to our special guests. Murphy, thank you for your time and insights today.
No, thank you for having me.
Seth, thank you for joining us. I know it's late at night in Thailand, so thank you for sharing your thoughts with us today.
Thank you, and nice meeting you all. Take care.
You too. We look forward to seeing you again soon.
And thank you again to our sponsor this week, Londonist. And thanks to everyone for watching. Goodbye.
Goodbye.